Hello, my name is Kathleen Nichols, and I want to welcome you to Her Voice from the Holy Land. It's interesting, many of the travel agencies who have been suffering so much during this period because pilgrims, of course, aren't able to come here to the Holy Land as the conflict is ongoing. One of them actually told me, she says, think about this. You have countries all over the world where there are conflicts and there are people suffering, but it's interesting how the world's focus in many ways is the Middle East, is in this country, and is in or on the city of Jerusalem. And that gives us this importance, as you were saying. It's the place of history of salvation. And so in that sense, it takes on a special weight.
And then you have the prayer of Jesus being taken to the temple as a child, the pilgrimage with the family to Jerusalem with Joseph and Mary, and you have eventually then the prayer in Gethsemane, the prayer on Calvary, and then you have that beautiful gift of peace on Easter Sunday evening to the disciples, which is a gift, a divine gift of peace, of messianic peace. And then we have also the community gathered in prayer waiting for Pentecost. And eventually we have that coming back to Jerusalem to live those steps, and now virtually.
And that's what's also incredible, because it's not just us, it's not we who are going back to Jerusalem only. What we're doing is, as you said, we're following the footsteps of so many people, so many ancient Christian communities whose descendants we actually find in Jerusalem and will pray with during this Lenten season. It's just a rich prayer, following also in the footsteps of the Lord, who taught his disciples to pray around this lake. And then, of course, he, in the culmination of his life, as you were saying, is his greatest prayer and offering to the Father in Jerusalem. So it's
the Last Supper, the priestly prayer of the Last Supper, John chapter 17. It's in one of the maximum climaxes of prayer inside the Trinity, that conversation. So it really brings a lot of the paradigms, the parameters of our whole spiritual walk together.
And one of the things I wanted to point out is, of course, during our pilgrimage, and people see this from all over, they recognize the virtual pilgrimages from Magdala because of the staff that has seen so many countries and so many places here in the Holy Land to bring us closer to the Lord. But we also have, we have the symbol of the backpack here, which will come with us. And there's a very specific reason. This is almost like an analogy of the Lord himself, who's our staff. In the Bible, he's called our rock, but the staff is also the staff of the shepherd, the good shepherd, that keeps us safe, keeps us on the straight path, saves us from darkness. But in our backpack, the most important thing we have, of course, is the Word of God. This same Bible, of course, has been with us also for these past 6 main virtual pilgrimages, and will accompany us as well. So what we're going to do is go into the scriptural revelation of prayer. We can see it from the very beginning to the very end of the Bible. And one of the things that I just wanted to mention in terms of the leg in Jerusalem is, if you think about this book, at the beginning, of course, the Lord made mankind, and at the end, when they put the Bible together, they put a very specific book at the end, which is Revelation, and it talks about the heavenly Jerusalem. And that heavenly Jerusalem, because we'll be talking a lot about the Lord's Prayer, says, "Thy kingdom come on earth as it is in heaven." And you'll hear that refrain so many times from Matt Maher, because he's allowed us to use that wonderful rendition of the Our Father, the Lord's Prayer, that he sings with Taya. And it's okay. This comes to earth. It's like an Easter Sunday. Heaven is wedded to earth was the ancient or the old translation of the lighting of that Easter candle that breaks through the darkness. So this is what we're doing. And again, I think here you're anchoring us into this rhythm, this liturgical rhythm, this biblical rhythm of almost like the purification of all of us, like the purification of any city, any person, the city of God, to become the city of God with the steps through the liturgy.
That's very beautiful. Now, you mentioned the kingdom, the heavenly kingdom, the heavenly Jerusalem coming down on earth, God's kingdom coming on earth. Jesus started his time at the Sea of Galilee proclaiming the kingdom and the forgiveness of sins.
Right there, and here, and everywhere,
all
really.
Around the Sea of Galilee, on the boat.
Yes.
So this is a wonderful place. I think the Christian prayer then needs the Galilean leg, and that's why when Christians come on pilgrimage here, there's usually, I call it a North Pole and a South Pole. There's the Galilee-centered pilgrimage experience, which is usually in one location where people stay, and then there's usually a location to stay in the Jerusalem area, and sometimes it's a day or two more because of the richness of sites in Jerusalem and the immediate area of Bethlehem and Bethany and Jericho. And so here in Galilee, the Christian experience of prayer had a new beginning. They are disciples of John the Baptist, and he was also a man of extraordinary prayer and fasting, of turning of the heart to God and inviting the people to come back to God. He was preparing the way. And what were they going to receive? They were going to receive an example of Jesus praying and taking large portions of the night at dawn.
Oh, many people say this cave perhaps right up here,
Yes.
certainly a cave over there. There's many places where he could have spent the night.
Exactly.
Yes.
And then so here at the Sea of Galilee is where they have their introduction to the idea, to the reality, to somebody in their own flesh who is taking so much time to go into the mystery of the Father and to give expression to that mystery in a tangible way, because they go and they're looking for him and they find him praying. Imagine if we were to do that, to come to Galilee to look for Jesus and find him praying. And actually they were surprised. And then it became such a powerful experience for them that they asked him, teach us how to pray. It meant that they wanted an introduction, a coaching, an accompaniment, an instruction into the nature of prayer.
Thank you for joining us today for Her Voice, and know that we're praying for you from the Holy Land.